I'm Pat Doris. Welcome to The Story. Hey, we're going to step away from politics for just a moment to bring you the story of a guy you might know, especially if you listen to Portland radio. For nearly 20 years now, Greg Glover has been on the air at 94.7 KNRK. His story is one of loss and redemption. Catherine Cook and photographer Kurt Austin take you on this trip to Pacific Storyland.
It's a brand new day in Portland. And radio DJ Greg Glover.
It's Alternative Mornings, the tiny little division here at 94.7, serving Portland,
is
Vancouver,
here for it.
And beyond. And Greg and Biscuit hanging out with you. We talked
for 19 years.
Wanted to play you one just from my personal collection.
Indie rock-loving Portlanders have woken up with Glover on 94.7 FM. His sidekick?
You good boy?
That's Biscuit.
You ready to go? Oh, yeah. Okay. They know him more than they know me. Yeah.
Outside his home studio.
This is where I spend most of my time. Some of these.
Glover's love for Biscuit.
This is Biscuit's wall.
And music.
He's in the Rush album cover.
Is everywhere.
And the Replacements. Biscuit there. Here they are trying to make you famous. It was a passion from when I was a kid. All different stuff. Yeah.
Glover's Southern twang.
I've bought so many records.
A nod to his Alabama roots.
All different stuff.
His
from
3,000 records.
Jazz to alternative to
a nod.
Classic rock.
To his mom.
I was raised with whatever was on the radio and my mom listened to. Good boy.
Back in the studio.
Boy. Thanks for waking up with us.
It's 10 a.m. And that's a wrap for this morning show. By noon, it's off to Prost on North Mississippi.
This is my routine. This is my corner office where I spend a lot of time.
It's a place where everybody really does know his name.
Oh, yeah.
Come here, buddy. Heck yeah, Greg Glover's my buddy, man.
First, a quick stop at Blood Buzz.
Oh, yeah.
For iced coffee.
These people see me every day. Good morning, Dennis.
They even made him this mug. He carries it everywhere, even at home.
Don't act brand new. Words to live by.
The words of a mom he once saw scolding her kids.
Exactly. Pulling things off the shelves, and she was just trying to hold it all together, and she was like, "Get over here, don't you act brand new." And I was like, I love that. And that's kind of become my motto.
Glover is a creature of habit. Coffee in hand.
Thank you.
Don't act brand new.
Thank you. An iced Greg.
It's back over to Prost.
The corner office.
And a table that has his name on it.
Believe me, I started coming here way before 2015. I don't know if I'm proud of that or embarrassed by it.
On this morning, two of Greg's best friends, Lori and Skip, are here.
My best friend.
Not much has changed in 15 years.
Tell me this story. I don't even remember that.
Except for the drink in Glover's hands. Instead of iced coffee, it used to be liquor. A lot of it.
Come here with my laptop, have a couple drinks, 2, 3, 4 drinks, go home, 2, 3, 4 drinks. And that was just routine. It wasn't until later I realized that that's not normal.
It felt like he had dug himself into a big hole and didn't know how to climb out.
You know, I've never been comfortable talking about any of this, you know.
But now, at least, he's ready.
3 years ago today, I sat here and took my last sip of alcohol.
Glover will be the first to tell you.
Yeah.
His path to sobriety was not typical.
Quit cold turkey.
Then again, most people don't lose their dream job and cheat death in the same month.
Yeah, it was
like he did. It happened during the pandemic, the fall of 2020. The company that owns 94.7 did some restructuring.
I was part of some layoffs.
Glover was off the air. 3 weeks later, he got up to walk Biscuit, but never made it out the door.
I got really lightheaded.
The last thing he remembers was yelling out for his wife.
Odd that I'm sitting right here in the very spot you put the chair down where she came downstairs and I was laying on the floor and I was on my back, my iced coffee spilled everywhere. Biscuit shivering next to me.
When paramedics arrived, Glover's heart rate was 13 beats per minute.
Like, is this real? It felt like a dream.
They rushed him to the hospital. There, he says moments from his life
And hardly a day goes by that I don't think about it.
flashed through his mind.
It was kissing a girl for the first time, or hitting my one and only home run in high school in baseball, or seeing U2 for the first time. And then everything went black.
Doctors performed chest compressions to save his life.
And the next thing I remember is waking up and saying to the guy, "What just happened?" And he said, "We lost you, but we got you."
Glover went into emergency surgery. Doctors put a pacemaker in his heart. Later, they noted something else.
They said, "Well, when you came in, your liver levels were a little high, but when you left 2 days later, they were fine."
You might think that's when Glover stopped drinking. But that same week,
And then where was I? The pub.
Glover says his drinking only got worse.
And I think I was, spiraling. And
He decided to seek help.
maybe I need to talk to someone other than someone at the end of the bar about what was going on with me and the fact that I lost my job and I just lost my life, and I'm probably drinking a little more than I should.
But
I
even
knew
with
that.
therapy, it would take 8 more months before Glover got the wake-up call that stuck.
My wife said something to me.
Yeah, it was getting pretty obvious at that point. Yeah, I don't want to be married to an alcoholic.
It embarrassed me.
Glover decided to quit drinking for 1 week.
I'd planned on taking a week off, and I'd never taken a week off, barely a day off, ever.
The day it actually happened caught him by surprise.
But I came in here and I was like, okay, I'm going to have a couple drinks and, read my New York Times, and that was my plan for the day.
But for some reason, Glover's drink hit differently that day.
And I said, "Patrick, I can't drink this." And he literally said, he goes, "I got you." And he took my drink, and I picked up my paper and I walked out the door. And that was the longest day of my life because,
Glover got through it.
yeah.
With help from his therapist, he set a new goal: 3 weeks without drinking. This fall marks 3 years.
I know.
To watch him, he's thriving, He's thriving.
It shows. I can see it in him, and I'm really proud of him.
It's Alternative Mornings with your friends Greg and Biscuit getting the day started.
And Glover has something else.
Coming up in just a few, Bob Marley and
His
the
dream
Wailers.
job,
Right now, it's
again.
The Killers on 94.7 Alternative.
After a year
Portland.
off the air, his first year sober,
Yeah.
94.7 went through more restructuring.
It's the Killers on 94.7.
This time,
Alternative
it
Portland.
meant the return of Greg and Biscuit.
People delighted that Greg and Biscuit were back on the air on 94.7.
Station manager Mark Hamilton remembers.
Doesn't get much better than that.
It was really serendipitous that my life hasn't gotten worse since I've left alcohol. That's for sure. Bowie from 1983, Let's Dance.
When Glover returned to the airwaves, listeners had no idea what he'd been through. This fall, he finally opened up on Facebook.
People said, "Wow, I'm 2 weeks sober and this inspires me to keep going." Wow, that meant a lot.
Glover is clear on this point. His journey to sobriety is his alone. But his friends have helped,
We still have our coffee dates,
including Dan Hart. He owns Prost.
It's just great that he still wants to come around and hang out with me and hang out with the rest of his friends.
And I'm incredibly proud of what he's done.
Yeah, I'm super lucky. Some good friends. Okay.
Glover knows not everything is perfect now.
Life is still going to have curveballs come my way. I know. My anxiety tells me so. But I do think that no matter what happens, I'm better equipped to deal with those things when they come up than I was 3 years ago. That's for sure.
You know what, Greg? I think you're acting brand new.
Maybe
Yeah.
that's not such a bad thing
In some ways, I am.
after all.
Yeah. I'm Greg. Me and Biscuit will see you in the morning when it's
In
dark
Northwest
and early.
Portland,
Until then, be good humans and try not to act brand new.
Catherine Cook, KGW News.
Catherine's with me now. Wow, powerful story.
Absolutely. Greg is such an incredible person. I'm so grateful for him for sharing his story. He's really private.
Yeah.
But he thought it was time to open up. He wants to encourage other people on their journeys, no matter what path they're taking.
Well, and I'm so impressed with him because the journey's not easy. I know. I quit drinking almost 11 years ago now.
Wow.
And I just found that, you know, this job has a lot of stress. I guess every job does. And I was using it as a stress reliever. But when you start going from a glass of wine a night to a bottle of wine, you know, that's time to kind of start backing down. So it was not easy for me. It's not easy for him. I think it's probably not easy for a lot of people because it's such a social thing.
Right. And that's the thing. He says society puts a lot of pressure on people. He wanted to do the opposite, to say, hey, you know what? It's okay. You're not alone. You're not the only person out there who's chosen not to drink.
Yeah, I think it's a great message. Thanks for bringing it to us,
bet.
Catherine. And by the way, you'll feel great in the morning. Hey, we'd love to hear from you tonight. Maybe you recently gave up alcohol. Maybe you've been sober for a while now, or you're thinking about it. Let us know, will you? After all, it doesn't always have to be doom and gloom in politics and government here on The Story. We're a community here. Maybe you have some sobriety tips you want to share. Send them to us, will you? The email is thestory@kgw.com or call and leave a voicemail, 503-226-5090. Coming up on The Story, we're less than a week away from the November election, and local law enforcement have new details regarding the suspect who torched hundreds of ballots. We bring you those details and a look at Portland Police's plan to avoid a repeat of the 2020 election season. That's all ahead when The Story returns. Yes, let's get to our daily check-in now on voter turnout so far for this presidential election for our area. 29% of Oregonians have already cast their ballot and sent them in. That's nearly 900,000 of the state's more than 3 million registered voters. Congratulations, everybody. Here's a look at Oregon counties that are leading the way based on percentage of ballots returned so far. Wheeler, Wallowa, and Curry counties remain at the top. It's important to remember that they have a fraction of the number of registered voters compared to the big counties in the metro area. Clackamas County, for example, dead last, 36 out of 36 counties, but based on that's percentage of ballots returned. But you know, their 18% represents 58,000 votes, so there. And finally, a look at the rest of the metro area. Washington County just above the statewide number at 29.5%. That's 118,000 votes. And here in Multnomah County, 23% have submitted ballots. That's more than 131,000 voters so far. Now to an update on those 2 ballot boxes that were damaged by an arsonist earlier this week. You might remember that only 3 ballots were damaged in Multnomah County thanks to a fire suppression system that's inside the box. But that same sort of suppression system failed in Clark County. Today we got an update on numbers of how many ballots there were affected. Election workers were able to identify 488 damaged ballots. 6 ballots were not able to be traced back to their voter. And the auditor's office warns that number could actually be higher because some of the ballots may have been completely burned and became ash. As of last night, nearly 350 of the identified voters had already contacted the elections office to get a replacement ballot. And the rest of the voters that were identified will be mailed a new ballot tomorrow. Today, Portland City leaders held a press conference focused on their plans to deal with any unrest in the wake of the election. But they started by giving an update on the person police believe is responsible for the ballot box arson.
But we can describe the suspect that we believe is connected to all 3 cases as a white male between the ages of 30 and 40 years old, balding or very short hair, medium to thin build, dark shirt, thin face. And we believe this suspect has a wealth of experience in metal fabrication and welding. The vehicle, as we described, is most likely a Volvo S60 from 2001 to 2004. It has places on it that are more matte in color than a standard shiny finish, tan or light gray interior, an aftermarket grille with the Volvo emblem missing. It has dark wheels, an unpainted body trim, and no front license plate. Investigators believe it is very possible the suspect intends to continue these targeted attacks across the area.
Pretty specific description. Hopefully somebody knows who that is. There's now a $2,500 reward being offered for any information that leads to the arrest. Yesterday, the New York Times reported the devices used to start the fires had "Free Gaza" written on them, citing law enforcement sources. During today's press conference, police would not confirm or deny that, only saying the devices were sent off to forensics to be analyzed. Now, the big message of this gathering today was that the city and its law enforcement partners have been preparing for this election season for quite a while. Portland Police Chief Bob Day emphasized that citizens do have the right to peacefully and lawfully protest, but he warned that criminal activity is not going to be tolerated.
But what you're going to see from us next week is a lot of high visibility. And when I mean high visibility, that doesn't mean enforcement. That just means exactly what I said, high visibility. I want us to be out in the community. I want us to be walking around. I want us to be on bikes. I want us to be engaging with folks. This is not all hands on deck so we can suppress or enforce. This is really intended to be available in case something occurs. But otherwise, I want us to be out and about and just showing that presence. Interdicting behavior early, making sure people see us and know that we are here and we're paying attention. And we know from experience that that often will defer bad behavior. It's really not rocket science. It's pretty basic that if we know that people are going to intervene and they're going to step into that space and say, hey, we don't find that to be acceptable, generally speaking, they'll go somewhere else. And then we'll be able to kind of just go about our day. So you should see a large police presence 24 hours a day for the several days beginning the first of the week through next week. And hopefully it's just a matter of just being out and being about.
Of course, the topic of 2020 protest did come up, and today District Attorney Mike Schmidt explained how his office plans to handle any similar criminal behavior if it happens this time around.
Our office has met and continues to meet with law enforcement partners, and we're aligned on our commitment to appropriately investigate and prosecute criminal behavior. There's no place for violence or destruction in the lead up to or the aftermath of this election. and I want to confirm or affirm MCDA's commitment to maintaining a safe community. Make it clear that hate speech and violence of any kind will not be tolerated, and I'd like to encourage people to keep our community safe by respectfully navigating this election regardless of anyone's political ideology or affiliation. We especially ask this depending on no matter what the results end up being after November 5th. This election represents another opportunity for citizens to exercise their voting rights and the free speech rights, and I want to affirm our commitment to a peaceful and safe election here in Multnomah County.
Portland police say they plan to open a communication center with their law enforcement partners, and they'll keep it operational as long as it's necessary after Election Day. Coming up next in the story, we'll take a look at your thoughts on ranked choice voting. Some of you said our segment helped clear things up for you, while others seem to be, even more confused. Well, we're going to answer your questions when we come back. The story returns. Now let's get to some of your thoughts on our big story last night as we tried to walk through some of the complexities of ranked choice voting. Portland voters are doing that for the first time ever this election for mayor, auditor, and city council races. And I'll admit, it is a bit confusing. So I talked with an elections analyst with the city to try and clear things up. And you can find our story on the KGW YouTube page or watch yesterday's show on our streaming app, KGW Plus. Your reactions to our story? Mixed.
Just watched your segment on ranked choice voting, and it is extremely confusing even after you broke it down and tried to explain it. I think this is a bad idea.
I want to thank you for the piece on ranked choice voting. especially when there's multiple winners, like in the city council races. That was a great explanation. I don't fully understand all of it, but I understand it now better than any of the stuff I've read.
Well, thank you to both of you for those comments. We wanted to address this email from Jim. I think I understand how this works, but I fear that my vote or a fraction of it could end up with a candidate that I absolutely do not want. This is too confusing for voters who are paying attention, much less the average voter. Well, okay, it's important to note that only candidates that you rank can actually be affected by your vote. Jim says he fears his vote could end up with someone that he doesn't want, but that will not happen as long as you do not rank candidates you don't want. You can rank up to 6 candidates, but if you only like one, then only rank one. We also wanted to answer this question from a viewer named Pat.
So what happens to the ballot if someone doesn't move over to the second column for the second person or the third column for the third person and just goes straight down under number 1? Do they automatically get moved, or is the ballot tossed out?
Well, in your scenario, yeah, I think it'd be tossed out, but let's go through this. If someone filled in 6 ovals all straight down the row under the rank of 1 column, then none of those votes would count. That's called an overvote, and all those votes would be skipped when the counting goes on. Now, if you picked a candidate as your second or your third choice, those would then move up and become your first and your second choice. Great question, though. If you've accidentally done that but have not yet returned your ballot, you can fix it. The elections office said you can put an X through the ovals that you do not want counted, or take the steps to get a brand new ballot altogether. And for those of you who are still confused about ranked choice voting, and I know there are a lot of you, it's okay, check out Multnomah County's ranked choice voting resources page. They have a lot of great information. They have videos and explanations to help you better understand it all before you submit your ballot. Hey, that's the end of our show. Thank you so much for watching. But remember, the story, our collective story, that never ends. It just goes on and on. A programming note for you, we are not going to have a show tomorrow night because the Seattle Kraken hockey team is going to be playing on your screen. It's going to be airing during our time slot, but we will be back with you on Friday. The good stuff's coming up next for those of you watching live on TV right now. And don't forget, you can stream the story on your own schedule anytime. Download the free KGW Plus app, available now on Roku, Apple TV, and Fire TV. In the meantime, enjoy a rainy, chilly Wednesday night here. Have a happy Halloween tomorrow. I'll see you right back here on Friday at 6:30.